Ghosts are a great subject for games, whether they are trying to kill us at every turn, or remnants of a life not fully lived, ready to share with us their tragic end. If used well, they can really make a game stand out from the rest. So here's my top 10 best ghost horror games. Clive Barker's Undying is a first-person shooter horror game about a paranormal investigator named Patrick Galloway. When Galloway receives a letter from a friend asking for his help in dealing with a curse, he goes to his friend's estate to uncover the truth behind the supernatural incidents. An occult ritual has attracted evil forces, and you'll encounter many different enemies as you explore the estate, including ghosts and poltergeists. It isn't wholly a ghost game, as it draws a lot of inspiration from the works of H.P. Lovecraft, but with the story in the hands of horror writer Clive Barker, you can expect an enjoyable and frightening experience. Clive Barker would later on work on a second first-person shooter horror game, but while Clive Barker's Jericho deals with the paranormal, it isn't focused on ghosts. Undying never received a sequel, although there are rumours one was originally planned. Silent Hill 4 is an unusual and divisive game in the Silent Hill franchise. While it includes a wide range of twisted and symbolic monsters like its predecessors do, it also features ghosts. In particular, the ghosts of the serial killer antagonist's victims appear and stalk you throughout the levels. They cannot be killed, and they drain your health just by being nearby. While you can temporarily stop them with silver bullets, and pin them in place with Swords of Obedience, both are in short supply, and you'll want to hang on to them, because the victims you meet during the game come back as even more dangerous ghosts. Halfway through the game, the antagonist himself shows up in ghost form, although he is much more dangerous and resilient than his victims. Love them or hate them, Silent Hill 4's ghosts greatly increase the tension. Fragile Dreams, Farewell Ruins of the Moon is a lesser-known game that blends mild survival horror gameplay into an RPG to create a haunting and atmospheric experience. You play as a young boy named Seto in a world where everyone has vanished. When he learns there might be other people still alive, he sets out through the abandoned ruins of Tokyo to find them. But while the streets and buildings he implores might be empty of human life, they're filled with ghosts he'll have to fight. These ghosts take many forms: hands that reach out of the walls, legs that will laugh and kick you, and others with more human appearances. People's memories also linger on in objects you find as you explore, which provide a glimpse into the world's final days. Seto meets quite a few friendly ghosts as well, who retain their memories from life and help him in his quest. Despite being the third game in the series, Clock Tower 3 is largely unrelated to the previous Clock Tower games, and ghosts play a very important role. It is a survival horror game that follows a girl named Alicia, who travels through time to fight evil spirits. In addition to the sinister subordinates, spirits of people who become murderers after being corrupted by the entity, Alicia also encounters the innocent spirits of their victims. To bring peace to one of these spirits, she must find an object important to them and return it to the person's corpse. Initially, you'll be forced to flee and evade the subordinates, but once you've restored peace to the greatest spirits giving the subordinates their power, you'll be able to fight them using a sacred bow. The F.E.A.R games are first-person shooter horror games about the First Encounter Assault Recon, aka F.E.A.R, team fighting paranormal threats. While there are many enemies throughout the series that are not ghosts or even paranormal, the primary antagonist is the evil spirit of the little girl named Alma. Alma is central to the F.E.A.R plot, and much of her nature is shrouded in mystery. When she was alive, she had powerful psychic powers, which gives her spirit a great deal of control over other people and the world around her. Her powers also let her create the Almaverse, a twisted version of reality that reflects her suffering as a child. F.E.A.R itself is not entirely about ghosts, but when fans think of the series, its ghostly antagonist is one of the first things to come to mind. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective isn't a typical ghost game, but a puzzle adventure game written by the creator of Ace Attorney. You play as Cecil, a ghost with the power to possess and manipulate inanimate objects. He can also possess a corpse to travel back in time to 4 minutes before the person's death, which gives him a chance to save them. Cecil has no memory of who he was or why he was killed. Since he's been warned the souls of ghosts disappear at dawn, he sets out on an urgent quest to learn who killed him and why. The mystery of Cecil's death and the strange events surrounding it drive the plot, and his powers create a variety of interesting puzzles. While he and the others might not be the sorts of ghosts who will scare you, Ghost Trick provides a lot of humor and compelling story. If you want something a little less scary than traditional ghost games, but you still want to fight the supernatural, the original Luigis Mansion stands out as a family-friendly option. Armed with a ghost-sucking vacuum cleaner, Luigi must defeat the spirits that haunt the mansion and save Mario. With a spooky mansion to explore, ghosts to fight, and a creepy atmosphere, it's filled with nods to the survival horror genre, as well as to the Ghostbusters. And there are ghosts aplenty to defeat and capture. The Mario series' iconic boos play an important role, and the mansion is filled with many other spirits, including the unique portrait ghosts, who seem to be the people that once lived in the mansion. It may not be scary, but the original Luigi's Mansion is a charming addition to the list of ghost-themed video games. Corpse Party is a horror game about a group of students who accidentally perform an occult ritual. This transports them to an alternate reality and traps them in a haunted school, where the vengeful spirits of murdered children stalk them. To survive and escape, they'll need to uncover the truth about what happened in the school. It has elements of both an RPG and an adventure game, and your decisions determine which ending you get. There are many wrong endings, along with one difficult to attain true ending. The spirits are angry and out to destroy you, and any wrong move might lead to death. The PC version of Corpse Party was just localized on April 25th, and the 3DS remake is due out later. While both are the original game, each contains slightly different content. Corpse Party has 2 sequels, Book of Shadows and Blood Drive, both of which expand the story. Although the Corpse Party series isn't as well known as many ghost games, they are grim, disturbing, and haunting. Sweet Home, which was never released outside of Japan, is an RPG about 5 people who enter an abandoned mansion and are trapped by an angry ghost. It was based on a Japanese horror movie, also called Sweet Home. As the protagonists search for a way to escape the mansion, they encounter many monsters, and although combat is handled like a turn-based RPG, a character who dies in combat cannot be revived. Despite being an RPG, Sweet Home can also be considered a survival horror game. It's challenging, filled with gameplay elements like item-based puzzles, backtracking, a story told through scattered notes, inventory management, save rooms, and loading screens that mimic opening a door. If all of that sounds oddly familiar, there's a good reason for it. And that's what makes it such a notable ghost game despite never being localized. Sweet Home was made by Capcom, and they eventually began work on a remake that turned into the original Resident Evil. The Fatal Frame series is not only an enduring survival horror series, but but one of the few which features ghosts as its primary enemies. Each game takes place in a different haunted location, and the protagonists must fend off spirits while learning the terrifying occult secrets at the heart of the mystery. Overall, they are traditional survival horror games, with the sorts of puzzles and gameplay you would expect from the genre. Fatal Frame's twist is in its combat. Unlike some of the games on the list, which simply make ghosts corporeal enough to attack, these ghosts must be fought with the use of a special device called the camera obscura. Taking pictures of ghosts with the camera obscura damages them, with different amounts of damage depending on the quality of the shot and the type of film you use. While the concept of fighting with the camera might sound odd, Fatal Frame creates an excellent, tension-filled atmosphere. The fear caused by these deadly ghosts is matched only by the dark stories they bring with them, which makes the Fatal Frame series our top pick among all ghost games. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this week's list, and if you did, leave a like, and if you want to see more in the future, subscribe. And if you want to see another horror-themed list, click here for my top 10 scariest moments in non-horror games, or here for my top 10 games that killed their franchise.